Paul Nerger. My background is as an engineer, but later I became a sales and marketeer. And what I want to do today is I want to talk to you a little bit about sales and marketing, but from more of an engineering perspective, so that you understand that sales and marketing isn't only for the sales and marketeers, that as an engineer you can have conversations with the sales and marketing people about your product and understand what they're talking about and understand that there actually is science to sales and marketing. So what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about how sales and marketing teams work together and a model for bringing alignment between the two. And we call that the campaign. So if you look at the slide here, you'll see a funnel. Often sales and marketing people talk about a funnel. What happens is prospects come into the top of the funnel. You run them through various stages where they become aware of your product. They have an interest in that product. They decide to evaluate that product or make some sort of decision, which results in a commitment, and that results in a sale. But that's a very generic way of looking at things. What we want to do is we actually want to take that funnel and we want to slice it. We want to take our prospects, we want to segment them, identify those with a common problem that we can solve with a consistent way, and then take each of those slides and create a campaign around those. So what happens is we get a campaign which is defined as a series of coordinated marketing activities and sales activities that will eventually result in a sale. Now, in all funnels and all campaigns, people are going to drop out along the way because they've decided against your product. It's okay. That's a good thing. If somebody decides that no, they don't want to buy it, you want to know that sooner than later. You don't want to spend a lot of money on it. So in this next slide, I want to talk a little bit about what the building block looks like for a campaign. So what are the things that we do to take the prospect through the funnel and again get them to buy? That's the sales cycle. But actually the sales cycle is the wrong way to look at it. It's really about the buying cycle. What are the behaviors that you want to solicit from the prospect? What are the behaviors, those buying signals? What are the buying behaviors that you want to advance someone through? In this slide, I actually show a particular stage within that cycle. And I've somewhat abstracted them because what I want to do is I want to show what actually is going on in this building block, which is really a sales cycle step or a buying cycle step. And what we really do is we have some sort of buying stage, some sort of activity that the prospect does. They agree to see a demo, or they agree to do a trial, or they give you a verbal commitment, or they do something that you know that's measurable, that is a behavior that you're trying to solicit. And then what you're trying to do is figure out what you have to do from a sales or marketing perspective to solicit that behavior. So what we see is sales and marketing becomes this dance between the sales and marketing person and the prospect. And this dance goes back and forth where the sales and marketing people try to solicit a response, and based upon that response, the person either advances or moves out of the sales cycle. In this particular diagram, I show a couple of things. I show, first of all, that there's a sales advance. In other words, they go to the next stage. They exhibit the behavior we're trying to solicit. They agree to do the demo. They agree to do the evaluation. And they now move to the next phase. And there's a new type of behavior that we're trying to solicit. Or they decide, nah, this isn't for me, in which case that's a sales loss. Or they do nothing. They don't make a decision either to move forward or to exit. They decide to continue the discussion. It's what we call a lateral move or a sales stall. Now, if you look at this, with each of these exits out of this cycle, including the loop, there's a probability associated with that activity. So there's a probability of the sales advance, there's the probability of the loss, there's the probability of the stall. And the sum of those probabilities all equal 1. But first of all, we need to build the campaign. So how do we do that? This slide actually shows the output from the methodology that I described. So we bring all the sales and marketing people together in the same room, and we walk them backwards through the sales cycle. So we start with our end goal in mind. What is it that we need to do? In this particular example, we're selling enterprise software. We're selling it to marketing people. Fictitious companies, basically sprockets. Our goal is to achieve $1 million in revenue. But we can't achieve that revenue or those bookings unless we get the purchase order. It doesn't count. So we need, if we're selling at an average selling price of $100,000, we need 10 purchase orders to meet our $1 million target. But what behavior does the decision-making unit, the buying unit, need to do in order for us to get that sales advance, in order for us to get that purchase order? Well, common in these things, because it's software, we need a agreement from their legal department. They've gone over our terms and conditions and our software license, and they're happy with it. And if we say, we pull a number out of the air, 9 out of 10 times that we go to legal, we'll get approval, and it's going to take us 4 weeks on average, and that is 9 out of 10, it means that we're going to need 11 people to enter to get to the point where we've taken and been introduced to the legal department in order to get our 10 output for the purchase order. And I can go all the way back through the sales cycle to get there. So what you see here is we then take and map all these sales and marketing activities to the buying behaviors. And I actually have this plan that sales and marketing agreed to that will take us through and get us to the financial goals that we need to achieve. But I've made guesses on all these things. I've guessed on the probability of advance. I've guessed on how long it's going to take. And those guesses, I've added them up and I've taken averages of averages. But in reality, they're not. They're uncertain numbers. They're random variables. And then over time, we can measure the results of our campaign to verify our assumptions on those probability distributions. So this is a very different technique to sales and marketing. It's not a fly by the seat of the pants approach, but rather it's an approach that uses a very structured methodology to create alignment with sales and marketing to maximize the profit.